Queen Zara of the Varelian Hive had ruled with calm strength for over 200 cycles. Her silver skin caught the light like polished stone, and her violet eyes held the quiet wisdom of deep space. She was not feared but respected. Her people thrived under her care. Trade flourished, peace held firm, and the ancient hive mind hummed in harmony with her thoughts. Yet even the brightest star can be dimmed by shadow. The first sign came not with fire or war but with silence. During council meetings, her advisors spoke less to her and more among themselves. Their eyes avoided hers. Their voices grew tight when she entered the chamber. Zara noticed but said nothing. She believed trust once earned should not be questioned at the first whisper of doubt. That was her first mistake. Her sister Lyra sat at the far end of the table. Once they had shared everything, secrets, dreams, even the same cradle under the twin moons. Now Lyra's smile never reached her eyes. She wore her council robes like armor and her words like daggers wrapped in silk. She praised Zara in public, but in private she spoke of weakness. She told the others that Zara spent too much time with humans, that she valued their strange songs and fragile art more than Varelian honor. She claimed the queen had forgotten what it meant to be Varelian. The truth was, Zara had not forgotten. She had simply chosen to learn. Through the human exchange program, she had met Lisa, a woman from Earth with steady hands and a quiet laugh. Lisa did not bow. She did not flatter. She spoke plainly and listened deeply. Over many evenings in the palace gardens, they talked about lost courage and what it meant to belong. Sarah found in Lisa something rare, honesty without agenda. And in return she showed Lisa the beauty of her world, the singing crystals, the memory trees, the way Varelian children learned to read starlight before they could walk. But others saw only danger. They feared humans would weaken their empire. They whispered that Zara's kindness was a crack in their foundation. And Lyra fed those fears like dry wood to a flame. The breaking point came during the eclipse festival. Once every 50 cycles, the twin moons of Varelia aligned, casting the capital city in perfect shadow. It was a time of renewal and reflection. The hive mind would open fully, allowing every Varelian to share thoughts, feelings, and memories. Zara always used this time to listen to her people, to feel their hopes and worries directly. This year, however, the hive mind did not welcome her. As she reached out with her thoughts, she found only cold silence. Then came Lyra's voice, sharp and clear inside her mind. "You are no longer one of us, sister. Your heart beats for Earth, not Varelia." Before Zara could respond, the palace lights dimmed. Security fields snapped into place around her chamber. The doors sealed with a hiss. Outside, she heard boots on stone, guards turning away from her command. Her personal attendants vanished. Even the royal drone stopped responding to her voice. She was alone. From the observation window, she watched as Lyra stepped onto the central balcony. Her sister wore the royal mantle, now the symbol of the hive's chosen. She raised her hands and the crowd below fell silent. Then Lyra spoke, not through the hive mind but through every public speaker in the city. "Queen Zara has betrayed us," she declared. "She has given our secrets to humans. She has weakened our defenses for their sake. The hive mind has judged her unworthy. I now take the throne to protect our future." The crowd roared. Some wept. Others cheered. No one questioned. The hive mind had spoken, and for Varelians that was law. Zara sank to the floor. Betrayal was not new in history, but it hurt more when it came from blood. She thought of Lisa. Had the humans been warned to leave? Had they been cast out too? She feared for her friend. If Lyra saw humans as enemies, Lisa would not be safe. Meanwhile, in the lower service levels, Lisa huddled in a storage closet. She had seen the lockdown. She had heard Lyra's speech. And she knew Zara would be trapped. While others fled the palace, Lisa stayed. She knew the service tunnels better than most Varelians. She had helped repair them during her first months on Varelia. Now those same tunnels might be their only hope. She waited until night fell. Then she moved. She avoided patrol drones by crawling through ventilation shafts. She used an old maintenance tablet to override door locks. Her hands shook, but her breath stayed steady. She remembered Zara's words. "Fear is not weakness, but letting it decide your path is." After hours of careful movement, she reached the royal wing. The final door to Zara's chamber was guarded by 2 elite sentinels. Lisa had no weapons. But she had something better: knowledge. She triggered a false fire alarm in the east wing. The guards turned toward the sound. In that moment, she slipped past. The chamber door opened with a stolen code. Zara stood by the window, still regal even in captivity. When she saw Lisa, her eyes filled with tears. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I came," Lisa said. They had little time. Lyra would soon send enforcers to take Zara to the Judgment Vault, a place from which no one returned. They needed to leave now. Lisa led Zara through the tunnels, moving fast and quiet. They passed through abandoned labs, old reactor rooms, and flooded drainage channels. Zara's bare feet bled on the sharp metal, but she did not complain. She trusted Lisa completely. Above them, the city buzzed with tension. Patrols doubled. Scanners swept the lower levels. But Lisa knew where the blind spots were. She had mapped them weeks ago just in case. They reached the Undercity, a place Varelians avoided. It was filled with steam-hissing pipes and the rumble of deep mining drills. Here humans and outcasts lived in the shadows. Lisa had friends among them. A mechanic named Dana hid them in a scrapyard beneath a tarp-covered hover truck. For 2 days they waited. Zara stayed silent most of the time. She stared at her hands as if they no longer belonged to her. Lisa brought her water and simple food. She did not push. She just sat nearby, a quiet presence in the dark. On the third night, Dana came with news. Lyra had declared Zara a traitor. A bounty had been placed on her head. Any Varelian who captured her would be rewarded with high rank. Worse, Lyra had ordered all humans expelled from Varelian space. Ships were being seized. People were being arrested. "We have to leave the planet," Lisa said. Zara nodded. "Do you have a shippy?" To Lisa replied, "An old freighter. The Starling. It is hidden in Dock 7. They moved again under cover of a chemical storm that turned the sky green and thick. Rain burned where it touched bare skin. They ran through the acid fog toward the spaceport. Alarms wailed in the distance. Searchlights cut through the haze. They reached the Starling just as enforcers closed in. Lisa scrambled up the ramp and fired the engines. Zara sealed the hatch behind them. The ship lifted off just as stun bolts hit the ground where they had stood. In orbit, they faced the blockade. 3 Varelian warships formed a wall between them and open space. Their cannons glowed red. There was no escape. Zara sat in the co-pilot seat. She closed her eyes and reached once more for the hive mind. She knew it had rejected her, but she also knew truth could not be silenced forever. She poured her memories into the link, every conversation with Lisa, every decision she had made for peace, every lie Lyra had told. She showed them the real reason she valued humans, not because she loved them more, but because she saw in them a reflection of what Varelians once were: curious, brave, willing to risk for something better. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the lead warship powered down its weapons. The others followed. The hive mind had seen. It had remembered. Lyra's voice crackled over the comms, screaming betrayal, madness, treason. But no one answered. The council had already begun to turn. They had seen the truth too. Zara did not return to the palace. She knew healing would take time. Instead, she and Lisa flew the Starling toward the edge of known space. They had no plan. No map, just each other. As the stars stretched into lines behind them, Zara looked at Lisa and smiled. "You stood by me when no one else would," someone had to, Lisa said. "And besides, you once told me humans feel things deeply." "Well, I feel this. You are my friend." Zara nodded. And in that moment, she made a choice. She would not be just a queen again. She would be something new. Something built on trust, not fear. And with Lisa beside her, she knew they would find a way forward, one star at a time. The alien queen faced betrayal. Only a human stood by her side weeks. Past as the Starling drifted through the outer rim of known space, Zara and Lisa lived in quiet rhythm. They patched the ship's worn systems, shared meals of dried rations, and watched the slow dance of distant stars. Zara no longer wore royal robes. She dressed in simple gray coveralls like Lisa, and tied her silver hair back with a strip of old wiring. She learned to fix the oxygen recycler and recalibrate the nav computer. Lisa taught her Earth songs, and Zara taught Lisa the old Varelian lullabies that mimicked the hum of neutron stars. They visited small outposts where no one asked questions. At a mining colony near the Kessar Belt, Zara used her knowledge of geothermal vents to help restart a failing power core. In return, the miners gave them fuel and fresh water. At a drifting way station run by exiled scientists, Lisa traded stories for spare parts. No one knew who Zara really was. To them, she was just another traveler with quiet eyes and steady hands. But news traveled faster than ships. Rumors spread that the Varelian queen had vanished. Some said she was dead. Others claimed she fled with a human lover. Lyra's broadcasts grew more frantic. She declared Zara a myth, a ghost used by rebels to stir unrest. Yet the people whispered anyway. They remembered the queen who walked among them, who listened more than she spoke. One evening, as they orbited a dead moon, Lisa received a coded message. It came from an old friend on Varelia, a botanist named May who had once shared tea with Zara in the palace gardens. The message was short. "The council meets in secret. They doubt Lyra. The hive mind is restless. Come home. Zara read the words 3 times. Her fingers trembled. Home was not just a place. It was a web of memory, pain, and hope. She looked at Lisa. What if they are setting a trap? Maybe Lisa said. But what if they are not? They debated for hours. Returning could mean death. Staying meant exile forever. In the end, Zara chose to go back. Not as a queen demanding her throne, but as a Varelian asking for a chance to speak. They landed the Starling in a remote desert canyon far from the capital. They came not with weapons, but with open hands. Zara wore no crown, only a simple pendant carved from memory wood. Lisa stayed close but did not speak for her. This was Zara's path to walk. They were met by guards not with stun rods, but with silence. The soldiers stepped aside as they approached the council hall. Inside the room was dim. The high seats were empty except for 3 elders who had once served Zara's mother. Lyra was not there. She had refused to attend. The eldest elder spoke first. You left without fighting. Why? Because fighting would have broken us, Zara said. I chose to leave so the hive could see clearly without my shadow over it. The elders exchanged glances. Then one asked why you returned. Because you sent for me. And because my people deserve truth, not fear. For 3 days, Zara spoke. She told them everything. How Lyra forged trade logs to make it seem Zara gave resources to Earth. How she silenced dissent by labeling it treason. How she used the hive mind not to unite but to control. Zara showed them data logs hidden in the Starling's core. She played voice recordings of Lyra's secret meetings. The proof was undeniable. Meanwhile, Lyra gathered loyalists in the military wing. She claimed Zara was lying, that humans had brainwashed her. She ordered a lockdown of the capital and called for the Queen's arrest. But this time the soldiers hesitated. They had heard Zara's words. They had felt the hive mind stir with doubt. On the 4th morning, the elders made their decision. Lyra was stripped of all titles. She would face exile on the ice moon of Theros where no ship came and no signal reached. Zara would not be named queen again, not yet. Instead, she was given a new role, voice of balance. She would advise the council but not rule. It was a test. If the people accepted her, she might one day reclaim the throne. If not, she would step away for good. Zara accepted. She knew trust once broken could not be rebuilt in a day. Lisa stayed with her in the guest quarters of the palace. They were not allowed to live together as before, but they met each evening in the gardens. The singing flowers had wilted during Zara's absence. Lisa helped her replant them using seeds she had saved in a small pouch. As they worked side by side, they spoke little, but their silence was full. One night, Zara asked Lisa to stay on Varelia, not as a guest, but as a citizen. You belong here as much as I do, she said. Lisa smiled. I belong where you are, but Earth is still my home too. Zara understood. She did not ask again. Over the next months, Zara traveled across the 7 systems. She visited schools, hospitals, and shipyards. She listened more than she spoke. She wore no royal colors, only the gray of the people. Slowly the whispers changed. They no longer called her traitor. They called her the Quiet Queen. Lyra's loyalists tried to stir rebellion, but without their leader they scattered like dust in the wind. The hive mind settled into a new rhythm, one that valued questions as much as answers. Back on Varelia, Lisa started a small school for human and Varelian children. She taught them Earth history and Varelian star navigation. The children called her teacher Lisa, and sometimes they brought her flowers that glowed in the dark. Zara often visited the school. She would sit at the back and watch Lisa teach. Once a child asked why the queen came so often. Lisa looked at Zara and said, because she believes in us. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Zara and Lisa walked along the palace wall. The city lights shimmered below. For the first time in years, Zara felt peace. Not the peace of power, but the peace of being known. Do you ever miss Earth? Lisa asked. Sometimes, Zara said, but I have found a new home. Because of you. Lisa took her hand. We built it together. They stood there for a long time watching the stars. Neither spoke. They did not need to. The silence between them was full of everything that mattered. Far away on the ice moon of Theros, Lyra stared at the empty sky. She had no songs, no sisters, no hive. Only cold and regret. But that was her story, not theirs. Zara and Lisa turned and walked back toward the light. The future was not certain, but it was theirs to shape. And for the first time in a long time it felt bright. The alien queen faced betrayal, only a human stood by her side. Months turned into a year, and the quiet rhythm of Varelia began to change. Zara no longer walked alone through the palace halls. Children waved at her from garden paths, and workers nodded with respect, not fear. She still held no crown, but her voice carried weight. When she spoke in council meetings, the room grew still. Even those who once doubted her now listened. She had not demanded power back. She had earned it through patience and truth. Lisa's school grew too. What began as a handful of curious children became a full learning circle, with students from 3-star systems. Human and Varelian children sat side by side learning each other's languages, drawing constellations from both skies and sharing stories of heroes from Earth and Varelia. Lisa taught them that courage was not about strength but about standing up for what was right even when you were afraid. Zara often visited, and sometimes she would sit among the children and tell them about the old days, when the hive mind spoke only in commands. Now she told them it was learning to ask questions. One afternoon, a message arrived from the outer colonies. A mining ship had gone silent near the Black Rift, a region known for strange energy surges. Rescue teams had been sent, but none returned. The council debated sending more ships, but feared losing more lives. Zara stood and said she would go, not as a leader, but as someone who understood both Varelian tech and human instinct. Lisa asked to come too. She knew the Starling better than anyone, and she trusted Zara's judgment. They left at dawn. The Starling had been repaired and upgraded with help from palace engineers. It was no longer just a freighter, but a vessel of hope. As they flew deeper into the rift, the stars seemed to twist and fade. Strange lights pulsed in the void. Sensors flickered. Lisa kept the engines steady while Zara monitored the energy patterns. She recognized them. They matched ancient Varelian texts about the first hive ships that vanished centuries ago. They found the missing ships caught in a gravity web spun by an old derelict. It was massive, covered in vines of crystalline growth that pulsed with soft blue light. The rescue teams were alive but trapped inside a force field that scrambled signals. Zara realized the derelict was not dead. It was sleeping, and it was Varelian. Using old command codes passed down through royal bloodlines, Zara reached out to the ship's core. It responded not with weapons but with memory. Images flooded her mind. This was the Wanderer, the last ship of the first queen who had sailed beyond known space seeking peace after a great war. It had found something out here, something that changed it. It had chosen to sleep rather than bring that knowledge back to a world not ready for it. The force field around the rescue teams was not a trap. It was protection. The derelict sensed fear and aggression and locked them away to keep them safe. Zara understood. She told Lisa to lower all weapons power down the shields and play a lullaby, the one she used to sing to her sister when they were young. Lisa did as asked. The melody drifted through space, carried on a low-frequency beam. The crystalline vines glowed brighter. The force field shimmered and vanished. The rescue team stumbled out dazed but unharmed. The derelict opened a docking bay not as a threat but as an invitation. Zara and Lisa entered alone. Inside, the ship was alive with light and sound. Walls shifted like breathing skin. The air smelled of rain and old stone. At the heart of the vessel, they found the core, a sphere of liquid light that held the memories of the first queen. It spoke not in words but in feeling. It showed them visions of a future where Varelians and humans did not just coexist, but created something new together. Art, science, music all blended into a harmony neither race could achieve alone. But there was a warning too. The path would not be easy. Fear would rise again. Old wounds would bleed. Only those who chose trust over power would survive. Zara placed her hand on the core. "I accept the path," she said. The derelict released them. As they left, it folded its vines inward and drifted deeper into the rift, vanishing like a dream. Back on Varelia, they shared what they had learned, but not all of it. Some truths were too big for councils and crowds. They kept the vision of the future close, like a secret seed waiting for the right soil. Then came the day Lyra escaped. No one knew how she broke free from the ice moon. Some said a smuggler took pity. Others claimed she used old royal codes hidden in her bones. Whatever the truth, she returned not with an army but with a single ship and a message. She wanted to speak to Zara. Alone. The council refused. They called it a trick. But Zara said yes. She met Lyra in the desert canyon where she had first returned. The wind howled between the red stones. Lyra looked thin, her silver skin dull, her eyes hollow. She wore no weapons. "I did not come to fight," she said. "Then why are you here?" Zara asked. "To say I was wrong." The words hung in the air like smoke. Lyra spoke of the silence on Tharos, the endless cold, the weight of what she had done. She had thought power would fill the hole inside her, but it only made it deeper. She saw now that Zara's kindness was not weakness, but strength she could not understand. Zara did not hug her. She did not forgive her. But she listened. And in that moment, something shifted between them. Not back to sisterhood, but to something quieter. Acknowledgement. You cannot stay here, Zara said. I know, Lyra replied, but I needed you to know the truth. She left that night on a cargo hauler bound for the edge of the galaxy. No one stopped her. Zara watched her ship disappear into the stars and felt no joy. Only sorrow for what could have been. Weeks later, the council held a ceremony. They offered Zara the throne again, this time not as a test but as a choice. The people had spoken. They wanted her back. Zara stood before them and said she would accept, but only if Lisa stood beside her. Not as a guest, but as a voice of Earth. The council agreed. For the first time in history, a human would hold a place in the royal court. On the day of the coronation, the sky rained silver petals. The hive mind sang a new song, one of balance and hope. Zara wore a simple circlet of woven starlight. Lisa stood at her right hand in a robe of deep blue stitched with constellations from both worlds. After the ceremony, they walked through the gardens. The singing flowers had returned stronger than before. Their voices rose in harmony with the wind. Do you think we did the right thing? Lisa asked. Zara looked at her friend. I think we are still doing it. And as the twin moons rose over Viralia, two women stood together, not as queen and human, but as partners in a story that was still being written one choice at a time. The alien queen faced betrayal. Only a human stood by her side. Peace settled over Viralia like morning mist, but Zara knew calm could hide cracks. She ruled now with Lisa at her side, not as a servant or advisor, but as co-voice of the new covenant, a title the council created to honor the bond between their worlds. Every morning they met in the sun chamber to review reports from the 7 systems. Lisa read human fleet updates while Zara listened to hive mind whispers. They argued sometimes, but always with respect. Their trust was not perfect, but it was real. Then came the signal from deep space. It was faint, broken by static, but unmistakable. A human distress call, not from a colony or trade ship, but from the Odyssey. A long-lost Earth vessel thought destroyed decades ago during the first contact wars. The message repeated 3 words over and over. They are awake. Zara recognized the phrase. It matched the warning from the derelict ship in the Black Rift. Lisa grew pale. The Odyssey had carried not just crew, but a secret project one Earth had buried. They had found something in the void, something ancient and sleeping. They tried to study it. Then they vanished. The council wanted to ignore it. Human problems were not Varelian problems, they said. But Zara stood. If it wakes, it will not care whose ship it eats. We must go. Lisa prepared the Starling while Zara gathered a small team of loyal scouts. They left under cover of night to avoid panic. As they neared the source of the signal, the stars seemed to dim. Space itself felt heavy. The Odyssey floated broken, its hull scarred by something that did not leave marks but absences, as if parts of the ship had been erased. They boarded with caution. Inside, the corridors were cold. No bodies, no blood, just silence and flickering lights. Then they found the log. Captain Elena Morris had recorded until the end. She spoke of a presence in the dark that spoke in dreams. It showed them their fears and fed on them. It called itself the Hollow. It was not alive, not dead, but waiting. And now it was stirring. Before they could retreat, the Starling's engines died. Not from damage, but from will. The Hollow was near. It reached into their minds. Zara saw Lyra on the ice moon begging for help that never came. Lisa saw her childhood home burning with no one inside. The visions were sharp and cruel, but Zara gripped Lisa's hand and said, "Remember who we are." The touch broke the spell. The Hollow recoiled. It had not expected unity. It fed on isolation, not connection. Zara realized the truth. The Hollow was not a creature but a force born from loneliness across the universe. It grew where trust had died. Viralia had almost fed it during Lyra's rule. Earth had fed it with its old wars. Now it was strong enough to wake. They fled the Odyssey just as its hull began to dissolve. Back on the Starling, Lisa rebooted the engines using a manual override. Zara sent a burst message to Viralia and Earth alike. Not a warning, but a call. We must stand together or fall alone. The response was slow. Old fears ran deep. But then Earth sent a reply. Admiral Carter of the United Fleet agreed to meet. So did the Varelian Council, though some still grumbled. They gathered at Neutral Point Theta, a station built after the first contact wars to prevent future ones. Zara and Lisa stood before humans and Varelians side by side. Zara spoke of the Hollow. Lisa showed the logs. Some called it myth. Others called it fear-mongering. But then the station lights flickered. Shadows moved where no one stood. A technician screamed as his reflection in the glass smiled back at him with too many teeth. The Hollow had followed them. Panic spread. Humans reached for weapons. Virelians activated shields, but Zara stepped into the center of the room and raised her hands. Do not fight it with fear. It feeds on that. Fight it with truth. She opened her mind to the hive and to Lisa. She shared her doubts, her regrets, her love for this fragile human who never left her side. Lisa did the same. She spoke of Earth's mistakes, but also its songs, its kindness, its hope. Others joined. A Virelian engineer spoke of losing his son and finding peace in building. A human medic spoke of healing enemies during war. The room filled not with weapons, but with stories, with truth. The shadows shrank. The hollow hissed in the void, then retreated. It could not feed here, not when hearts were open. After that day, the alliance changed. No longer just trade or treaties, but real unity. Joint patrols watched the Black Rift. Schools taught both histories. Children learned to say hello in two tongues. Back on Virelia, Zara and Lisa walked the gardens at dusk. The singing flowers hummed a new tune, one that blended Virelian harmonics with an earth lullaby Lisa once taught Zara. Do you think it is gone? Lisa asked. No, Zara said, but it is weaker. As long as we choose each other, it will stay that way. Years passed. The Starling became a museum ship in the capital. Its hull marked but proud. Lisa never returned to Earth to stay, but she visited often. She brought back seeds that grew under Virelian suns. Zara never sought more power. She ruled just enough to keep the path clear for others. One evening, a young Virelian girl came to the palace. She carried a drawing of two women under twin moons, one with silver skin, one with brown hair. She gave it to Zara and said, "You showed us that strength is not in standing alone, but in standing together." Zara hung the drawing in the sun chamber. Far out in the dark, the hollow waited, but now it faced something it could not consume. Not a weapon, not a shield, but a simple, unbreakable thread of trust between two women from different worlds who chose to believe in each other when no one else would. And that was enough. The alien queen faced betrayal. Only a human stood by her side. Time flowed. Like a slow river through the capital of Virelia, Zara no longer needed to prove herself. Her presence alone brought calm. Lisa walked the palace halls not as an outsider, but as a thread woven into the fabric of their world. Together they had built something rare. A peace that did not rest on treaties alone, but on daily choices to listen to, understand, to trust. Yet even the strongest peace can be tested by the smallest spark. It began with a child. A young Virelian boy named Kale fell ill with a fever no healer could break. His skin dimmed. His eyes lost their glow, and the hive mind could not reach him. Panic spread. Some whispered it was a curse from the old times. Others blamed human contact. Fear returned like a shadow at dusk. Zara visited the boy's home in the lower district. She held his small hand and felt the heat burning beneath his silver skin. She knew this sickness. It was not a curse. It was the same illness that had taken her mother long ago. A rare strain that only responded to a plant found in Earth's rainforests. Lisa recognized it too. She had seen it in old medical logs. "We need the blue vine," Lisa said. "It grows only on Earth." "How long to get it?" Zara asked. 3 weeks minimum with fast ships. Kale did not have 3 weeks. Zara called an emergency council. She asked for a joint mission, Earth and Virelia together, to retrieve the plant. Some elders resisted. "Why risk our ships for one child?" "Because if we do not care for one, we do not care for any," Zara replied. To everyone's surprise, Admiral Carter agreed immediately. A human courier ship. The Swiftwing was already near the edge of Virelian space. It could reach Earth in 10 days. But the return trip would take longer. Too long. Then Lisa remembered something. Years ago, during her first year on Virelia, she had brought seeds from Earth as a gift. Among them was a small pouch of blue vine seeds. She had planted them in a hidden corner of the palace garden, hoping they would grow. No one had tended them since. They ran to the garden. Beneath layers of singing flowers and memory moss, they found it. A single patch of blue vine, its leaves shimmering with faint light. It had survived all this time unnoticed. Lisa harvested the leaves with careful hands. Zara prepared the old healing tea her mother once used. They gave it to Kale that night. By dawn, his fever broke. Color returned to his skin. The hive mind welcomed him back with a soft hum of relief. The story spread, not as a miracle, but as proof. Human and Virelian knowledge together had saved a life. Neither could have saved alone. The whispers of blame turned to quiet respect. But not everyone was pleased. In the outer colonies, a group called the Pure Hive began to gather. They believed Virelia had lost its way, that mixing with humans made them weak. They spoke in hidden channels and wore old warrior tattoos. Their leader was a former enforcer named Torv, who had served under Lyra. He had never accepted the new order. Torv saw Kyle's healing not as hope but as danger. If humans could cure them, they could also poison them. He began to spread fear again. He claimed Lisa was slowly changing Varelian biology, that Zara was blind to the threat. His words found ears hungry for certainty. Small acts of sabotage followed. Human supply crates were burned. Varelian children were told not to attend Lisa's school. Tension grew like a weed in cracked stone. Zara wanted to confront Torv directly, but Lisa stopped her. If you arrest him, he becomes a martyr. Let him show his true face. They waited, and Torv made his move. During the Unity Festival, a celebration created by Zara and Lisa to honor both cultures, Torv and his followers cut the power to the main plaza. They released a gas that caused confusion and fear. Then they broadcast a message across the city. The Queen is under human control. Rise and reclaim your hive. Chaos erupted. Some believed the message. Others stood firm. Fights broke out near the market. The hive mind flickered with panic. Zara did not call the guard. She walked into the plaza alone. Lisa followed a step behind. They stood under the twin moons as the crowd roared around them. Zara opened her mind to the hive not as a queen but as a daughter of Virelia. She showed them her memories. Her mother's death, the loneliness of rule, the warmth of Lisa's friendship, the joy of Kale's recovery. She showed them that strength was not in purity but in connection. Then Lisa stepped forward. She did not speak Varelian, but she held up a small device that played a recording. It was Kale's voice, weak but clear, saying, "Thank you, Teacher Lisa." The crowd fell silent. Torv shouted from the edge of the plaza, "Traitor," but no one joined him. His followers lowered their heads. They had seen the truth. Torv was taken not to a prison but to a healing circle. Zara believed even broken minds could mend if given time and truth. After that night, the pure hive faded, not by force but by choice. People saw that fear offered nothing but chains while trust offered a future. Years later, when Kale grew up, he became a healer. He studied both Varelian and human medicine. He often visited Lisa's school and told the story of the blue vine. Children would touch the plant in the garden and whisper thank you. Zara and Lisa grew older too. Their steps slowed, but their bond did not. They still walked the gardens every evening. They still argued over star charts and soup recipes. They still chose each other every single day. One night, as the twin moons aligned, Zara turned to Lisa and said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had left that day?" Lisa smiled. "Every now and then. But then I remember I never really had a choice. You were my friend." Zara nodded, "And you were mine." In the distance, the stars burned steady and bright. The hollow still waited in the dark. Old fears still stirred in quiet corners. But here in this garden under these moons, two women had built something stronger than any threat. Not a fortress, but a home. Not a rule, but a promise. And that promise lived on in every child who learned two languages, in every healer who used two medicines, in every heart that chose trust over fear. The story was not over. It never would be. But as long as someone remembered to stand by another when no one else would, the light would hold.